Now, on this example, hey, the first thing I'm going to want to do, Justin, what's the first thing I should do? Forget about the f of x. What's the first thing I should do if that was a y? You remember? Set it equal to 0, right? Done. So now you guys at least know when you guys take that homework quiz or that test, you can at least get to this part, right? So now let's look at the first thing. First step, I would say, is try to solve it like I did on the first example. Is there only one x I can just solve for? No. So I can't do it that first way. Let's look at the second way. Is there a GCF? Is there a common factor I can factor out? This has an x, this has an x. Crap, that doesn't have an x. This has a 1, and none of the numbers have the same factors, right? So I can't solve by square root method, nor can I factor by our GCF, right? You guys agree with me? So we need to come up with a third method. And the third method we sometimes call the diamond method. However, I like to just create a x, OK? And basically, guys, this is just a method that we need a lot of practice with. Because technically, basically, what we're going to want to do is be able to do this in our head. But I'm going to show you guys a way that's a little bit longer so you can at least get practice with this. So to do this, you guys are going to want to write this down so you remember how I do it, and as well as what goes here. That is a b. So what you're going to do is you're going to write an x. I like to write a c up top and a b on the bottom. I like to put a dot representing multiplication and a plus representing addition. Sure. Now, what does the c and the b represent? Well, if you guys remember, when we're talking about functions, ax squared plus bx plus c. Right? You guys remember that standard form? Remember when I went over that standard form? And remember when I went over standard form, I said one of the most important things you guys can do when you know standard form is to identify what is your a, b, and c. So my a in this case is going to be 1. B is going to be -3. And c is going to be negative what? 10. OK? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a -10 where the c is and a -3 for the b. Does everybody follow me for what I did there? Does that make sense, Ian? Huh? Basically, a is 1, b, look at a, b. Do you see how a, b, and c, these are the blue, these are the blue? See how I did that? So a is always the coefficient of your x squared, b is your coefficient of your x, and c is your constant. Does that make sense now? Always going to be like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be in the order. You're always going to want to make sure you write it in that order, in this order of ax squared plus bx plus c. But then, yeah, then you can label it like that. Your a is always with your x squared. All right, so the whole purpose of this, ladies and gentlemen, is now what we want to do is we want to fill in these other two boxes. So to do that, what you're basically going to do is take a negative. Forget about the negative. Let's just take a 10. And now we're going to write down the factors. So what numbers multiply to give you 10? You could do 10 times 1 and 5 times 2. Right? And again, as I mentioned, the purpose of this, guys, is we're going to want to get really, really good at our numbers. But these are the only two numbers that multiply to give us 10. Now, what we're asking, the whole purpose of this, is this states what two numbers, or what two factors, multiply to give you -10, but add to give you -3. I'll say it one more time. What two numbers or factors multiply to give you -10 and add to give you -3? Now, remember, we're trying to multiply to give us -10. So that means one of these has to be negative, right? It could be -10 times 1 or -1 times 10. -5 times 2 or -2 times 5. Does everybody agree? Right. And the reason why it's -5 times 2, because remember, now when I add them, since the addition is going to be negative, that means the larger of the factors has to be negative, right? So I'll write this as -5, and that's a positive 2. So I write -5, positive 2. Does Does everybody see how I did that? It's going to take you some time for the first couple. The purpose of this is to start doing these more often, so you're used to them. And then we write them in their factored form. X minus 5 times x plus 2. OK? So when we look at our factored form, basically what we're doing is we're just writing in our two factors here. Now, can you check your work using FOIL? Yes, you can just multiply these. When you multiply them, you should get this answer back. Then, lastly, we apply the zero product property. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of moving a little bit quicker now, because I want to give that last time for you guys to get your work. So now, since this is the product equal to 0, you multiply them to get 0, and now you just solve. Add 5, x equals 5. Subtract 2, x equals -2. And that's it. OK? Sorry, guys, I took a little bit extra of your time.